Anxiety, depression, isolation, all consequences of the COVID pandemic. So what do we do with symptoms that threaten the well-being of our lives and the lives of our children? Next up, I'm going to teach you 7 practical ways to combat anxiety and depression and continue to live the way that God calls us to live, even in this season of life. Let's discuss. Welcome to God Dream University. I am Bob Upgren, and this is episode 8, episode 3. That would be episode 8 right there. Episode 8, and we're here to help you live a more ministry-focused life, a more Great Commission life, either in the ministry that you're already leading or just in your life in general. That's why we are here. That's why we're doing the videos that we're doing. Before we get into the content, and it's good, so stay with me, I want to thank you for giving me your time and attention. Two very important assets, I know, in your life. Speaking of important assets, I want to point you to an asset that we made to give you for free. It's called 5 Steps to Finding Your God Dream. And it's a tool. It's a video and a PDF that's designed to help flush out the dream that God has for you. My friend, God's got a calling on your life. Let me say that again, right into the camera. God's got a calling on your life. And 5 steps to not just my life, not just your pastor's life. God's got a calling on your life. And I think the challenge is we have a hard time discovering and discerning it. And 5 steps to finding your God dream is designed to help flush that dream out, bring clarity to that calling, and to help you live the way that God created you to live. Ooh, that's good. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? It's free. We just made it for free just to serve you. 5 steps to finding your God dream. The link, it's in the description. All right, let's get into the content. 7 ways I'm going to teach you, practical ways to combat anxiety and depression. I'm going to try and be concise, but this is important stuff because we are in a little bit of a crisis, I think. Not just because of the pandemic, but the pandemic has certainly amplified things. Right now, depression, you think of anxiety and depression. Depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. Think of that. Depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. Suicide now is the number 2 cause of death in young people in the United States. In some countries, it's the first cause of death. I mean, we're losing more soldiers to suicide than to combat at this point. And we are in a crisis of hopelessness, a crisis where anxiety and depression and isolation are running rampant. And we need to be very practical and very tactical on how we approach these times still, because the pandemic has now, I don't want to say it's normalized, but it is a part of our life and we're dealing with it, and our children are still dealing with the challenges of it, and we, even as adults, are dealing with the challenges with it week in and week out, and oftentimes day in and day out. So what I want to do is I want to give you 7 practical ways to help combat anxiety and depression for you and your children. And what I want to do is take a verse out of Psalm 139:14. You have heard this verse before, and it's quoted this way: "For I am fearfully and wonderfully made." For I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139:14. I know most of you have heard that. What people miss on that is actually there's a few words before how we state it. It actually starts by saying this: "For I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." Like, when's the last time that you or I have praised or given thanks for who God has made us to be, for the uniqueness that God has placed inside of us, for the gifts that God has allowed us to use, for the talents that God has sown into our DNA? When's the last time that we literally prayed and just said, "Lord, I want to thank you for the uniqueness that you have given me"? And so that verse, for I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made, is kind of going to sit as the base of what I want to talk about with these 7 practical ways, because God has made us in particular ways. And I think when we look at anxiety, depression, isolation, we want to bring back the trueness of who God has made us to be and how God has created us to operate. So I'm going to go through these fairly concisely. I am going to put a link in the description to a PDF file so you can see these, but it's just simple, practical things that we need to pay attention to that are going to help us with anxiety and depression, but also they're just going to bring us to the true self of how God created us to be. So here are the 7. Number 1, God created us to move and to play. God created us to move and to play. And few things are better for us physically and emotionally than structured and unstructured play. It could be a sport. It could be a game. It could be going for a bike ride. But God created us to move. And what's happened during the pandemic, and even as the pandemic has become more normalized in our society, is we have become comfortable in being too comfortable. We don't want to go out as much. We don't want to be as active as much. We don't want to move our bodies as much. And the movement of the body, in a lot of ways, can be very worshipful. And so we need to get off of the couch. We need to get out of the chair, and we need to get our children out, and we need to get them playing. And I always say we tell our kids, we've got a little bit of land that we live on. I just say, hey, go play. Well, Dad, I don't know what to do. Just go figure something out. There is something to be said about unstructured play that becomes extremely, extremely healthy. Play outside. Now hear me on this. With no screens. No, that's not play. I'm talking about playing outside, running, breathing, having the endorphins that God put in our body be released. Movement and play is something that God created us to do and to be. That's 1. Number 2, God created us to engage and laugh, right? And part of the challenge in COVID is we have become more isolated. And we can sit and watch something funny on TV, and we might get a chuckle off of it. But think about like when you're playing cards with your friends. You know, you play like spoons, or you play hearts, or you play pinochle. Something very conversational. There are times and conversations and things that happen, and I'm just using cards as an example, when you are engaging with somebody else, and organic laughter takes place. And laughter is good medicine for us. Really good medicine. Natural, authentic, pure laughter, not manufactured laughter. You see, one of the things that's happened is we have been quarantined at different times during this, and what we're doing is we are manufacturing movement, we're manufacturing laughter, we're manufacturing engagement via Zoom, and we need to get back to the realness of life. God created you and I to move. He created you and I to play. He created us to engage with each other, to touch each other, to hug each other, to high-five each other, and to laugh with each other. Okay, so we have play and move is 1. Engage, so play is 1, and what we're talking about is movement. 2 is engage, and we're laughing and talking with each other. Number 3 is to finish. And God created us to complete things, right? Starting and finishing a project will give a sense of fulfillment. Completion of even the simplest task nurtures personal confidence. You can Google this or YouTube this. There's a lot of guys that will give keynote speeches at graduations, and they'll talk about the power of making your bed in the morning, and they'll back it up with research. And so as the pandemic unfolded, one of the things that I began to talk to my kids about is I want you to start, and I want you to finish something. So we don't have a lot of loose ends out, and we can feel completion. We can feel that we have finished something. Okay? So we want to play more, we want to move, we want to engage and laugh and talk, and we want to finish something. Now think about that with your kids. Have them, if you have young kids, finish a page in coloring. Have them we used to do this as kids. We would take playing cards and we'd make card houses. Have them do something like that. Have them, this kind of leads into my 4th one, have them draw something or paint something. The 4th one is this, create something. And what we want to do is engage the right side of our brain. Studies show that creative engagement improves mental health. And there's nothing more beautiful than turning some music on, all the screens are off, and you got a paintbrush and 4 or 5 different colors in an empty canvas, and just let your kids go or let you go. So we want to be creative in some way. It could be painting, it could be drawing, it could be writing, it could be playing the piano, it could be singing, it could be playing an instrument. But we want to be creative, and we want to we really want to engage the right side of our brain. And you're going to see where I'm going with this in just a minute. But we have, number 1, play. Get our bodies moving. Number 2, engage. Let's laugh and talk. Number 3, let's finish something. Let's grab a project, and it can be even a simple project, and let's see completion. Number 4, let's create something. Let's engage the right side of our brain and create something. Number 5, let's get out and breathe. Let's get outside and engage with nature. And there's something about nature. And Scripture talks about how nature speaks of God, reveals the glory of God. And so what we want to do is go for a walk. What we want to do is go outside and play. What we want to do is go for a run. What we want to do is go hit some golf balls. What we want to do is get in a boat and go fishing and sit in nature and not sit on a couch, not sit on a chair. We need to get out and we need to breathe outside. Spending time outdoors, especially in green spaces, is one of the fastest ways to improve health and happiness. And there's research that will actually support that. There's just nothing better. There's nothing better than being outside. And I believe that, get by a body of water, climb up on a mountain, go for a hike, and you will feel, it's kind of crazy, but you feel the presence of God. And so think about this. For I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You've been made to play and move. You've been made to engage and laugh and talk. You've been made to finish things to completion. You've been made to be creative and create incredible things. You've been made to get out and engage with nature. Number 6, inspire yourself. And you've also been made to nurture passions that you have. And so what we want to do is, what is a passion? Is a passion painting? Is a passion singing? Is a passion playing a musical instrument? Is a passion playing a sport? Think about what you love to do. Something, and I'm going to use the word organic, not manufactured, something true to you, and engage in that. I have here, research shows that people who pursue activities they enjoy are less likely to suffer from low moods, stress, and depression. What is it that you love to do? What is it that you love to do and you want to engage with that? Now, here's the trick. Number 7. So God's created us. We're fearfully and wonderfully made to play and move. We're fearfully and wonderfully made to engage and laugh and talk. We're fearfully and wonderfully made to finish things, to bring things to completion. We're fearfully and wonderfully made to create something. Number 4, fearfully and wonderfully made to get out and breathe and engage in nature. Number 5, fearfully and wonderfully made to inspire ourselves, to attach to the passions that God has placed in each of our hearts, the uniqueness that He's put into our hearts. Number 7, step away from screens. So the first 6 were things to do. This is the one that is to do not. Step away from the virtual world and enjoy the real world. Step away, and I would say it this way, the virtual world that man has created, and step into the beauty of the real world that God created. Let's keep it very simple. Less screen time equals more joy, period. You've been fearfully and wonderfully made. Your children have been fearfully and wonderfully made. We sit in a pandemic. We sit in a time that is still the ground beneath us shifts pretty consistently. And we can either live in a virtual world, sit in front of screens, and not engage and move and participate in life the way that God created it, or we can play, we can engage, we can finish, we can create, we can get out and breathe, we can inspire ourselves, and we can step away from the virtual world and step into the beautiful world that God created. Why? Because the real world, the realness of the real world, less screen time equals more joy, period. So which one resonates with you? Which one out of the 7 do you hear me talk about and say, man, I would actually, that's a great idea. Let's go paint. Or let's sit around the piano, or let's get a deck of cards out and let's laugh and talk and play pinochle or play hearts or something like that. But let's engage. Let's combat the anxiety, the depression, and isolation with the true movements, the true rhythms of life that God made us to enjoy. You are God's masterpiece. He's created you in a beautiful way. You've been fearfully and wonderfully made. And we should praise God for that. And in praising Him, it's being proactive in doing some of these things for yourself and for your children. And I believe as we engage in activities like this, they will lead us to live, even in a season like this, the way that God created us to live. God bless. Hey, if you enjoyed this piece of content and felt like there was value in the content provided, or perhaps this information could minister and speak into the lives of other people, maybe even friends that you have, I'm going to ask for your help. Would you please subscribe to this channel so we can join hands together and lead people to become more ministry focused in their lives? Thanks so much. God bless.